You all have been very, very faithful to us and faithful followers. I'm very excited about that. We have another evening with y'all this evening, and our concern has always been about children. But before I go there, my name is Dr. Willie Miles. I'm the president of Dr. Willie Miles Children Foundation, located right here in Atlanta, Georgia. Our mission is very simple. Children are our priority. And every Instagram Live we've had, we talked about children and children's issues. For those who've been following me, you know, we talked about mental health. We talked about traumas. We talked about boys and needing their dads last week, which we had a fantastic audience and great participation. Hi, Herdand, and hi, William. Thank you guys for signing on with us. It's going to be another exciting evening. Not exciting because of the topic, but exciting because of the person who I have on. The topic we're going to talk about is very, very serious. Very, very serious. But before I get there, folks, we still need your help. On next Monday, which is Memorial Day weekend, we want to deliver a Chick-fil-A to our frontliners, the ones who are the first responders. We're going to hospitals, we're going to the fire stations, and we're helping people throughout Atlanta, showing our appreciation. Now, I know you're saying, I don't live in Atlanta. Hey, help us out anyway. Help us help someone else. All right? So I'm very excited again. I'm going to jump right into this. I am very, very, very happy to have here this afternoon Ambassador Dr. Sharon Brown. And folks, she has a very, very busy schedule. She's all across the country and international. And so I'm very blessed that she chose to give us a little time this afternoon. You know, you all saw my advertisement. I said, oh my God, you know, we have over 300 girls in Atlanta, and I'm sorry, in Georgia, over 300 girls who are having sex with 12,000 men who are paying for it. But Dr. Brown is going to share with us, it's not only about sex, it's really about having people in hostage and paying people less dollars and having people feel they don't have anybody else but you. And that's what this trafficking is all about. So I'm going to slow it down just a little bit. We're going to talk about, again, sex trafficking. I'm going to set the foundation for us first, and then Dr. Brown is going to join me. Are y'all ready? Hey, David and Wanda, good seeing y'all again. It says, who's vulnerable? Human trafficking can happen to anyone, but some people are more vulnerable. Let's talk about those people who are more vulnerable. Significant risk factors include recent migration or relocation, substance use, mental health concerns, involvement in the child welfare system. That means children who are in foster care and children who are running away and are homeless youth. Folk, you all know, we all know some homeless youth, and we just pass right on by them like they don't even exist. You know, it's what you do for the least of thee. We have got to stop. I'm not saying get involved and ask questions, but I'm saying you follow your heart. Then it says often traffickers identify and leverage their victims' vulnerabilities in order to create dependency. So these people create dependency upon vulnerable people. They feel trapped and can't get out. Y'all didn't come to hear me talk, so I'm gonna let Dr. Brown talk about this. But Dr. Brown, talk about the ambassador thing first. Like, what was that all about? And how did you get that kind of notice that you now are an ambassador?
Well, I got this because I have been doing work all over the state of Georgia and across the country, just really trying to find my voice and how I began to help and walk side by side with legislators and lawmakers to begin to be a lobbyist and just fight for some of the injustice that was happening to our women and children right here in the state of Georgia. Mm-hmm. And so for all of the efforts and the things that I've done across the state of Georgia and across the country, I have several people I've worked with, and we put a lot of work in, and even myself trying to pass a few bills of my own. And so with all of that, I ended up, thanks to Miss D. Dawkins, noticed me and some of the legislators in the Georgia House of Representatives, and I ended up becoming an ambassador to the state of Georgia. So many people don't know that states have an ambassador. And so I represent the state of Georgia on the behalf of fighting the war against human trafficking.
Okay, Linda, you say you're having some buffering issues. I can't help that out, maybe on your end, but keep trying. All right. At this point, I do want to say that Dr. Brown has had some unique experiences, and we're going to talk about her successes first, and then we'll get into the story. And if you all have questions, please ask us the questions. She's also a noted author, and she's a speaker. Now, we're not here soliciting business, but I'm simply saying that if you need someone to talk about the issue who's had first-hand experience, you need to call her in. All right. She didn't ask me to say that. But I do want to say that this is such a issue for me. And it should be an issue for you because those
Yes,
girls belong to somebody. And not only do those girls belong to somebody, but ready for this one? This one also, boys are being trafficked. And
absolutely.
we'll talk about those. So Dr. Brown, it's in your hand. You start talking. I'm gonna jump in.
Okay, so I'll just start with before I was today. Of course, I'm an ambassador to the state of Georgia. I'm a Goodwill ambassador, but I'm also a international platform speaker. I have an honorary doctorate in humanitarian. I have a school in Africa in Kigali in Rwanda. And so I've been all over the world. I've worked from Health and Human Services on a federal level all the way down to the sheriff departments and being a part of different task force working across the country and across our nation. I've actually worked with on Health and Human Services. I travel and make sure that I was partnering with them, going out to all of the universities, all of the healthcare care facilities, making sure that they don't just have these conversations without a survivor being there, so that they'll be able to understand what it took and how hard it was for many survivors. Many of us don't even identify and don't. So I'll get into that.
So Dr.
But
Brown,
yes,
I want to do something that's very important you just said. There are a lot of people talking about it, but not many people have gone through it firsthand.
no,
And when you go through it firsthand, it's a different story, isn't it?
yes,
It is a different story. So I'm sharing with you all right now, take a little break. You need to email your friends or tell them to come on with us right now. I'm very serious. Call them and text them or whatever technology you got. Tell them that you're on with a survivor of sex trafficking. Not just sex trafficking, but it's also called life. It's just called life. So get a few moments. Go on and email those folk and have them to follow us. And when Dr. Brown and I get rolling, ain't no stopping us now. All right. Dr. Brown, you want to continue?
yes. So, I have a proclamation from President Obama. I have some House Joint Resolution from the state of Tennessee, which is where I'm from. And my CV is very long, and I'm an author and all of these great things. But, my life didn't just start there. When I was about the age of 5 is where my journey began, and I began to lose the power of my voice. I was molested by my babysitter. By the time I was 7, I was inappropriate touched again. By the time I was 12, I had already getting high, smoking weed, going to school high every day. I had already started to suffer so many different traumatic issues that I was going through and did not know.
Okay, you gotta slow down now. You gotta slow down because I got a lot of questions to ask you. I'm gonna jump on in now. You ain't gonna just talk the whole period and be gone. I gotta ask some questions. I'm gonna ask the kind of questions that our audience would like to have answers. You said it started at 5 with a babysitter. How many of you all have had people babysit your children? I am not saying you should be suspicious of everyone, but the very people you trust are the ones that perpetrate these kinds of crimes. And Sharon, I want to ask you, on the video, I asked the question: are parents to blame? I'm not trying to throw blame, but who's to blame when all this happens?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
Well, my mother was a good mother. I mean, just like any other single parent, she was a single parent, worked 2 jobs, took a bus and a taxi to get across town just to go to work, and trusted a white female to babysit me and to keep me. And so with this lady, I only have blocks of memory. And, being that this is your line of work, you understand how trauma breaks up in our memory.
Right.
And so many things I can't remember back then, but I do remember those occasions and things that this lady would do to me. And so that's the time where those seeds were planted. And I was told, you better not tell your mother. You better not tell your mother. And I kept hearing that. So I began to lose the power and the agency of my voice. I had no ability to say no, and then I started losing my sense of direction. And not to mention, Dr. Miles, and I'm sure we're going to get into this, of how and who are the victims and who are those that are more prone to this. And so I suffered with a learning disability back then. So I, was in special education. Now she's a doctor. How about that?
But Dr. Brown, did anyone suspect anything was wrong, though? Did anybody suspect that your behavior was different? Did you give any kinds of signs?
No, No, to be honest, I don't think so. I just think that they just looked at me as, look at that fast little girl. Oh, she just fast, you know, because most victims, they either go to one on one, side of the spectrum, or they on the
Good
other.
point.
And so for me, I was on the other. And so I would be gravitating towards older men and being in people's face and stuff in my,
How old were you then? How old were you then?
Because of the block of memory,
Uh-huh.
the only reason why I can remember the age of 5 is because I remember asking my mother, when did this white lady used to babysit me? So that's how I know that it started then. You understand?
Were you in your teens, like when you started being attracted to men, older men?
No, I think my attraction was much earlier.
Wow.
It was much earlier. And because, most boys not giving you no attention.
Right.
So the men would. And so some of the men that was in our family and things like that. So I kept hearing, keep your mouth closed, don't talk about it, keep quiet, and things like that. And so I grew to a muscle to understand, shut up and just be quiet.
So the message from all the perpetrators was, don't tell nobody.
Don't tell nobody.
So, Sherry, so what would you tell parents who not only suspect, but who are raising their children about talking to their girls? Like what would you tell them?
I would tell them, pay attention to everything.
Yes.
Give them the right to use their voice. Sometimes, even if you feel like they're wrong, allow them to voice themselves. Because in the moment, they may slip and say, oh, it wasn't Rico the pimp that was trying to get me. I don't know who listened, but I just come off the hip and I'm just straightforward, okay? So I may say anything because I'm authentic and I just say what I mean and mean what I say. So, Rico the pimp may not be the issue. It may be her girlfriend at school with her that is luring her, or working with the pimps, or it's her boyfriend that's working with the pimps. And they have made so many different variables in this. You understand? So I would say to the mothers, you got to listen to your daughters. You got to pay attention to the signs that they're showing you.
Yes.
If they are going to school and that they, like, I used to pack a bag to take to school to change clothes when I got to school, because my mama didn't dress me like that. You couldn't wear no makeup and lipstick and all of that. But I was lurking for attention and validation. So when you're like that, you open yourself up to so many other things to enter into your life.
Dr. Brown, you said something important. There was an agency here that held a program in a school, and she had it with girls and boys. And I'm an emotional male. I cry in a minute, but it just affects me. She asked those students, this is about maybe 15 kids in a room. She asked them, how many of you all think you're being trafficked? And 10 kids raised their hand in school. 10 kids, including boys. And I was just blown away. Because it's right there in the schools. And you just made a very important point. It ain't always the Joe Blow on the street. It could be the child's best friend. And the key is parents need to keep their eyes on their darn children and know the signs. We all ought to know our children. We've had them long enough. I'm not saying what they will do and what they won't do, but you can start saying when you see a slight change in them. Let me see what's in that darn bag you taking out of here.
I mean, there's so many signs. There's so many signs.
Give us some more signs. Give us some more signs.
You talk about mental illness all the time. I dealt with depression even back as a child, and I didn't realize that that's what that was, that I was experiencing. But there's signs. If your child is excluding themselves, pulling off, not wanting to talk, you can't just go in your room and shut the door and allow them to just be on their own. You got to open up, because let me tell you, if you don't pay attention, I just mentioned y'all to you about Rico the pimp. He will show up. And he's not going to look like the man in the pink Cadillac coming after your children. So listen, we have to not only pay attention, be nosy, get in their phones, try to figure out, learn the lingo or the new conversation that's taking place among our kids today. We have, some of our parents had no idea until grown folks started twerking. We didn't even know what twerking was.
But Dr. Brown, yes, I mean, it's not about being nosy. It's about having a good conversation. Say, listen here, now, this is my house. Now, because I love you, I'm going to check stuff. Now, if you don't want it in the house, You want me to check it? Don't bring it up in here. You know, and
That's
so I
right.
think we should have to show our monitoring out of love and out of concern. iWise just wrote, children must be supervised. Yeah, they must be supervised, but at a certain age, you can't supervise them everywhere. And you don't, am I right? You don't start raising children at age 13. You
No,
start raising them.
there's a trust. You have to build trust with your children. And although my mother and I had a very good relationship,
Mhm.
I was always afraid to just tell her. And the other issue is many of us don't self-identify. So I'm sure as I tell this story today, there are going to be many women and men that are watching that have grown up to be an adult, but this is their story.
Yeah, if they're honest, and not only if they're honest, but if they are ready to tell it. The problem is that many people ain't willing to tell this story because they're afraid of how folk gonna react. And
Well,
so they
people,
remain, Dr. Brown,
people are going to.
they remain unhealthy for the rest of their lives. On one of our previous programs, I shared with our viewing audience that at the age the trauma occurs is the age that the person stops growing emotionally. So if the trauma happened at age 5, and this is without treatment, happens at age 5, the child grows up with an age 5 mentality. Maybe 18 years old, but they'll still have tantrums. They're gonna run away, slam doors. If it happened at 13, the same thing is gonna happen. So we, as parents, we gotta begin to understand the developmental benchmarks for our children. It ain't just have no children. And yes, there are books that are written on what to expect. I don't want to talk too much because Dr. Brown got to get up out of here. We got to get some more. She got a lot of good stuff. So we got from age 5, I think, till about 12. Talk about what community, and talk about what church folks said.
Well, I didn't really grow up in the church at that time.
Okay.
I went to church every now and then,
Mm-hmm.
but you know, we as people have to be the village that has not been in place for many years.
Mm-hmm.
You know, back in the day, there was a village. You know, you whooped somebody else's kids, you chastised somebody else's kids, and so the thing that I hope that people will gather from the story is that we got to be, I'm all about prevention, and we got to be aware and be conscious of what's going on around us. It is your business if you see a grown man with a little girl that looks like something ain't right with that. If it's not, if you feel something that's not right, it's probably not right. And it's okay. You don't have to second guess. You can allow the law enforcers to be involved, and you can pick up the phone and dial the number or text the number and let them handle it, whether it was the case or not. Because had someone asked some powerful questions at my age, so from 12, there was some in-between things that took place. By the time I was my freshman year in college, I was raped my freshman year in college, and I went right back to school. No counseling, no anything. I was on a break from school, and
I
I
gotta
went
stop
right
you
back to school.
because you give me too much stuff as a therapist to work with. You give me too much stuff. You all hear what she just said. She said that she was raped. So she's had a continuous life of this. And oftentimes people who are the victims start thinking, I caused it. I must be attracting it.
Exactly.
And it's me. Maybe it's the way I look. And guess what? The answer to that is that it's true. Because people who perpetrate, people who go toward those victims, they know those kind of personalities. It's a
Yes,
helpless personality. It is I ain't cute and nobody wants me personality. It
exactly.
is a guilt personality. And they go and tell those people, oh, I love you. I
I
know
can
you know
be
if I
your
don't love
everything.
you. Am I right?
Yes, you're so right.
And I'm
And
telling you,
the
he,
person that ended up raping me at gunpoint, he had an NFL promising career. He was, you know, he didn't look like a rapist or anything. And he actually pulled the trigger and played Russian roulette with me. And so I was so traumatically traumatized at that moment, and I was able to get away. But I always believe that there's always an angel somewhere. And there was an angel at that hotel that he took me to. And it's just crazy because I thought nothing else could work. Nothing else worse happen to me. And then less than 3 months later, I was recruited into the #1 strip club here in Atlanta by 2 females, and that are now dead.
hold that thought. I hope y'all are listening. Y'all need to call somebody else and tell them to come on. Y'all need to call somebody and email and say, get on, follow this program so you can get this information. You ain't getting it from nobody who studied it. You got it from somebody who actually lived it. Now, Linda Harris wrote, understanding love is the key. Yes, it seems she attracts them. What happens is that when you start making those kind of statements, it becomes judgmental because love ain't got nothing to do with it. Love has nothing to do with it. No, she wouldn't need no love because she was getting that however she defined it. And she attracts it. Guess what? You're absolutely right. But the way it was stated as if she's going out there saying, oh, here I am, come and get me. She don't have to say a word. And girls, people, don't have to say words. We've got to stop being so judgmental. Oh, she deserved it. Look how she dressed. So somebody dresses with a short skirt means they should be molested?
Can I say something to that
Yeah.
point? That's the reason why we have so many girls underground right now that are being victimized at this very moment that cannot come forward. One, they don't even know that they are a victim of human trafficking. And many of them will not come forward because there is not a safe place in most cases for people to be able to be vulnerable enough to say, I need help. And that this is not my fault, because you've been blaming yourself, because that's what the predators do. They get in your head and they make you feel it was your fault anyway. You shouldn't have been so cute. That's what my rapist told me. Wow. He told me that he was doing this to all of the women that was just like me. So that is not my fault. So that is not, it's not because I didn't have love. My mother loved me. I had a family that loved me, that cared about me and everything. But when I came to Atlanta, my family, my mom and my stepdad took their coins, paid cash for me to come and go to college. I had no idea what the inside of a strip club even looked like. Never been in a strip club before.
So Dr. Brown, what we're saying then is that we're saying that her story now, it ain't her story only. Across the country, millions of girls, and some boys are being caught up in this. Millions of them. So it's not just a one black lady story. It's really black, white, Latino. It's anyone who is vulnerable. And you can sit and say, oh, guess what? Well, they won't bother me because I'm so strong. Yeah, I'm right. It can happen to anyone.
The truth is that human trafficking is on everybody's street. And every one out of 3 households are affected by human trafficking. 1 out of 3 are affected by human trafficking in one way or the other. And it does not just affect that one person. It's like cancer. It affects the whole entire family.
Doc, I just got to breathe a little bit. You know, last week I told people they're making me tired. And the one lady said, Dr. Miles, you didn't say that on live camera. I said, the reason it makes me tired is because these are some real issues, people. And while we're around here talking about things that are insignificant, we have children. you know, I thought about this. I said, if you really want to help, you can have some business cards made up, simply saying, if you need help, call me. It ain't got to be no like DCF and all that kind of stuff. It's just pass out your little cards if you need help. And if somebody needs help from you, they should call you, and they will call if they're empowered to do so. But many of these young ladies and young men are afraid to. There's a question: why is Atlanta the #1 place in the U.S. for human trafficking?
Okay, so I get asked this question all the time, and the truth of the matter is the reason, just like any other news that is being reported, Atlanta is probably one of the cities that's doing the most work to fight human trafficking now. So that's one of the reasons why we are rated #1. Okay, and we are the belt line to get in and out of, to get to so many states. Atlanta is. We have the international airport. We have, there was a case study, and then this is a melting pot of almost like how, you know, Atlanta is a melting pot of all people, you know, from, you know, different religions, different races. Everybody comes here to begin their new beginning. And so everything is here. We have this is one of the most prominent, wealthiest Black people in the country is here. We have movies, we have, you know, sports and everything, you know what I'm saying? So more than anything, we can get to Florida, South Carolina, North Carolina, Alabama. We can get to all of these different places, Tennessee, in a matter of a couple of hours, you're in another state.
Yeah, one
So
of our
that's
followers said we
one
have
of
the
the reasons
busiest airport in the world, like you just
in
said,
the
the
world.
busiest. But Dr. Brown, let's talk about some of these perks because when you hear about Atlanta, first of all, you just think black, don't you? So, oh yeah, them black folks, but in this trafficking area, uh,
Yes,
is,
let's get it.
our victims are usually black, but the perpetrators usually aren't.
Oh, well, the truth of the matter is, yes, most of the victims that are being victimized are people of color.
Hmm.
So it vexes me and bothers me tremendously when I see PSAs and you have a lot of white girls
Right.
or
Hmm.
girls that don't even look like us. So that sends the wrong message. You won't go to McDonald's looking for, a rib steak, you get what I'm saying?
Right.
You're not going to go there. You're going to go for a hamburger. So
Right.
if I see a poster and it doesn't look like a girl that looks like me, I'm going to think maybe that's not for me. They're not going to really help me because I was already told that there's nobody even care about you, love you. And if there's so many tactics to this. And Dr. Miles, I want to make sure we understand the different forms of human trafficking,
Yes.
how people are
Yes.
identified
Yes.
into human trafficking. You are either forced, fraud, or coerced into human trafficking.
Yes.
So I identify with coercion. I was coerced into human trafficking. I was lured into this
But tell us
industry.
how. Tell us how. Give us
So
the
it was
graphics.
by two females that I knew. So
Hmm.
I would see them repeatedly out. I would go out to the clubs and I would see them. They would buy drinks and buy me gifts, and then I knew that they drive nice cars and
Hmm.
they had everything that I didn't have,
Right.
and they began to do a lot of things for me. And then they were like, "You didn't took your clothes off before. This
Ah.
is nothing. It's just a strip club." But I did not know that life would begin to take me into a deep,
Mm.
dark spiral. And, from being trapped in a basement of a guy that I didn't know that he was kind of like a pimp to me, but I didn't know. I just thought he was my boyfriend. You understand? And then, having me trapped in the basement, my family members trying to come get me, and he's threatening me because he knows where they live and who they are.
Wow.
So it gets really, so you can't be we can't sit back and judge people
Right.
because you never know what is going to cost somebody when it's not may not even just cost them their life. It may cost everybody in their family's life to
Yeah.
uproot them out of that situation.
Dr. Brown, we have some new people who have joined our live stream.
Okay.
I want to do some introductions again. I'm Dr. Willie Miles. I'm the president of Dr. Willie Miles Children's Foundations. And folks, we have an awesome guest on tonight. I'm not sure when I can get her back again, because I ain't gonna be paying her now. Y'all pay her, but I pay her so I can come on my show again. But we have none other than Ambassador Dr. Sharon Brown, who is a survivor, but not only a survivor, but she's an advocate from across the country and internationally on behalf of girls. You hear this often, that oftentimes your misery becomes your ministry and nothing just happens. So you're a prime example of your misery has become a mission, not only for the state of Georgia, and we're so happy to have you here, but for the entire world. For the entire world. For those who are just listening, I want you to hear more about Dr. Sharon Brown. Keep going. Hey, I heard about the strip club, so I got that point. They made you promises, and that was a way they controlled you. And they
Yes.
enticed you with all those great things you didn't have. And
Yes.
anyone who says they can't be enticed, right, you're married, ain't you? Well, anyway, you're enticed. You're enticed that people say things you want to hear, and you believe
Yes.
them. So
Yes, absolutely.
how did all
The
that impact?
traffickers know, like you stated earlier, the traffickers, they know, the predators, they know what your vulnerability is. And some of the vulnerability, so these are some of the things I would like to just share a little bit, that how they they pick you out, whether it could be a girl or a boy that's suffering or struggling in school academically, or they're part of a single parent home and mother works 2 or 3 jobs, or it could be somebody that just don't have that voice or a male figure of a father to validate that girl or that boy, or it could be a lack. in Georgia, we rank in the top 10 of the homeless population
Yes.
of kids that are registered in the public school system.
Yes.
That means they go to school every day, but they're homeless. So when you are vulnerable like that, and a pimp comes up, it could be a female that says, listen, I got a place for you to stay.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll feed you. I'll give you money. That's not a person that's just looking for love in the wrong places. That is out of a necessity, out of a need, you know, and not to mention of this pandemic
Yes.
that we're in.
Yes.
You know, I don't even know if we got time to talk about that part of it and how human trafficking is on a all high raise. The number is like crazy right now because of that, you know. And so where do we go? Many are homeless. You get what I'm saying? So lack of food. Some of these girls that I have spoken to, they just want to get their hair done. Mama can't afford to get your head full of weed. But guess what? Rico the pimp or Shay or whoever, she can say, I'll hook you up. I'll get your hair done for you. I'll get your nails done for you. And you're excited saying, oh my God, thank you.
Dr. Brown, we're getting so many comments online. I got to bring some of these out. One of the comments was, of course, we have the busiest airport. Another comment was that, and I want to bring this up, is that especially foster children who age out of care, that's a very strong population. And another strong population I want you to talk about is the LGBTQ boys that are gay and who are questioning. They are prime targets. Let's talk about it.
Okay, so the thing is, and I don't want to go back to one of your viewers. They posted a message like, you guys, we as people of color had, you know, you may not understand the LGBT community. It may not be something you support, but humans are humans. That don't change that. If they got a beating heart, if they woke up today and
Yes.
God gave them breath, then they deserve equality and justice like everybody else.
Yes.
And what bothers me is when I am advocating on the voice for the voices, for the voiceless of human trafficking, I don't never hardly see, anybody standing in the gap for the LGBT community.
That's right.
And
That's true.
And Dr. Miles, there is only one on the East Coast side of like a refuge house for human trafficking for boys. One.
Well, Doctor, I'm going to tell you, Dr. Willie Miles Children's Foundation, we're going to make that one of our priorities. Yes.
It is necessary, because what if you got a child that's out here, or if it's a boy, whether he's in the LGBT, gay or not, or just a boy, period, is in the community and he need a place to stay. He need a place to run to, because if it's all girls, and mind you, it is so, I almost cuss. It's so hard to, because I'm very, you know.
Look, just be yourself. No judgment around here. This is a very serious issue. This is a very serious issue.
It's only on, I can count them on my hands, of refuge centers for girls. And the criteria is so, and we have over 400 girls a day are being trafficked in Georgia.
Yes. And those girls are having sex with 12,000 men. You do the math.
I'm just saying, I've been there. I've talked to them. I speak to them. I've been brought in because the counselor or the social workers can't reach these girls, and they brought me in to share with them, to talk, to use my program to be able to reach these girls. Because let me tell you, victims can scan out a room in a few seconds and know who's really for them and who's not for them. And so we have to get out of this judgmental. So in January, when Human Trafficking Awareness Month show up, we shouldn't be asking, what can we do? We should be doing something about making a difference. There's something everybody can do.
Dr. Brown, are making these little snide snippets, oh, them little fast girls, they get what they should get. Or these little, the gay boys, you know, I just think that, you know, I'm not getting into spirituality now, but we always talk about we try to do for the least of thee. We always talk about we want to help somebody. And I always ask people, when was the last time you helped somebody outside your family? When was the last time you saw a child? Well, I see these little boys on the street corners up here on Wesley Chapel selling water. I give them 20, sometimes $50, because they're
Well,
trying
you
to
know
make.
that's a form of trafficking.
It is.
Yes.
So I shouldn't buy the water.
Okay, so let's get into it. Let's
I'm
get
getting my
into
money
it.
back then.
Okay, let's get into
Okay,
it.
go on. Tell me how it works.
So one of your viewers said something about absence of fathers. No,
Yes.
you can't put this in a box, because I have mentored and counseled a girl that's got a mama and a daddy that go to work every day, but she was sneaking out of her window with another female and they were trafficking her and bringing her home. Okay, so you can't say that. You can't say that. Okay, so let's get back to different forms of trafficking.
Okay.
Okay. So we all know about sex trafficking.
Yes.
There's labor trafficking, of course. This is the number one
yes.
modern day slavery right now. We got more people in slavery now than we did 300 years ago. So we got labor trafficking. We got organ trafficking. If you can Google it right now, they have found bodies up and down, one body down the Michigan, I think it was the Michigan River, where somebody was stuffed with drugs inside their body. There was a baby that was found dead at the border of Mexico and the United States, where they were trafficking that baby and they had stuffed drugs inside. The drug lords know that they can move drugs through human body. So that is real, okay? So that organ, bodies, sex, and then you have labor trafficking.
Yes.
And then you have elderly women and men are being trafficked. How? Okay. We have them popped up all over the community, where you got somebody's got a senior house, that they got seniors living in the house, and they telling you, I'm going to take care of your mama. Well, I'm getting it trafficked. How you know something is being trafficked? If there's currency being transferred from one hand to another. So if there's money being transferred from one hand to another, that is another identification of trafficking. So if your mother comes stay with me and I get her check every month, but I'm not taking care of her, I'm not doing right by your mother, I just want her money, and I'm exploiting her so that I can be able to do that. 80% people that are exploited, they will be trafficked. That's what happens.
Dr. Brown, I'm going to read some data I have here. And one is, how do traffickers control their victims? And you've already shared it. They control them by taking control. They include physical and emotional abuse and threats, isolation from friends and family, and economic abuse. As a result, victims become trapped and fear leaving for a myriad of reasons, including psychological trauma, shame, emotional attachment, or physical threats to themselves or their family. You know, as you're telling your story, you know, if I were to hear you, I'd say, she ain't telling the truth. She telling a story from a movie, because this can't be real. But Dr. Brown, your story is what millions of girls would tell, right?
Yeah, or worse. I recently was on a Zoom conference. It was a women empowerment. This lady, her pimp was a female that pimped her, that set her on fire multiple times, that hospitalized her multiple times. You know, I mean, one thing for sure, there's not many people that look like me that are telling their story. That's for sure. The second thing is that it takes something beyond the word of courage to do this.
Can I stop you for a second?
Yes.
You give me so many good nuggets behind the fireplace. You said something that almost slapped me out of the chair. You said, not many of us are telling the story, because the Black community has an issue with keeping secrets, don't they? We just keep secrets, and we grow up hating people because we never talked about these issues.
But we sometimes don't support each other, you know?
Yes.
We all come from something. I flatlined and died twice, and God brought me back. So I don't really, care what nobody think about whether it's real or not. I've given my life over as a service to not to a place or a people, but to the world.
Right.
And so it is just what it is. Like, there are so many people that would love to share their stories and may never share their stories, and so I do this on behalf of them. for the voiceless, you know, because it is very difficult to be able to open up your, before I decided to do this, I had to speak to my whole entire family. I had to talk to them and let them know that, you know, this is my truth and I have to be able to walk in it and tell the truth
Right.
about where I am.
You know, Dr. Brown, you also have children. How do your children accept your story? Like how does it impact them?
Well, you know, I didn't hide this from them.
Uh,
That's why we got to communicate with our children. I didn't hide it from them, and I talked to them too. So now they're on my team, and they are very passionate and working against the war against human trafficking. So when I travel, I don't tell them y'all stay at home and
right.
mama got to go on the road and do what she do. No, they come with me and we work this together. This is our form of ministry. It doesn't have human trafficking is not bound to, you know, I've spoken all over the world to the Hadassah organization. They're Jewish, I'm Christian. You know, they never asked me, you know, what was your religion? All they care about is the cause in front of us.
Dr.
And
Brown,
yes.
we're getting so many questions in. So got a few more minutes. So I want you all to send questions in. So one question asked is, how long were you a victim of sex trafficking?
Okay, so for me, maybe about a year or two. I was victimized as sex trafficking. But see, the thing about sex trafficking, it doesn't start just at the sex. It started exploitation. So
Yes.
it started from there.
That's a good point.
Then maybe sex may get involved, or maybe, you know, labor may get involved. If anybody know anything about the strip clubs and stuff like that, that's labor trafficking also, when you can basically tell somebody how much toilet tissue to use, and then, you know, you being brainwashed. You got to give the money that you just got through dancing. You got to pay the DJ some money of your money, not the club owner. You got to do, I mean, it's just so many foolishness that goes on behind that system. And so to answer your question, it was only a few years. And after I got out of the adult entertainment, I was also lured into selling and smuggling drugs into the country. So I went into one thing into another.
Trauma after trauma.
Yes.
Trauma after trauma.
Yes.
You know, you made a point about the strip clubs. I'm going to go back there also. And I'm not trying to judge, but people go to those strip clubs not even knowing that they're causing harm and are then supporting trafficking.
Yeah, they don't know. They just think it's, you
entertainment.
know, entertainment, you know, no different than, you know, the Super Bowl when somebody, I've been in so many underground basement parties where I was forced to go because
help me out now. I'm an old man now. So what does underground basement mean? So we can all be educated.
Well, it's where they still have them. Trust me, they still
get out of here.
Yes. Where I actually wrote a movie about it and about my story, and this is part of what I added in there. So, but what it was is, you know, after you finish working, then we have a designated place or a house that we go to.
Gotcha.
And they have strip poles in there, from drugs are sold in there. Girls are being purchased and bought in there. We're dancing. All kind of business deals are being transferred. So all of the major leaders and people that got the money in the city, they're there. You see all type of leaders and things in this place, from pastors to everybody go there. You understand?
Guess what? We have go on. No, we have a listener who is going to ask the question I was just going to ask, because we got to do it this part. How did you break away from it? What was the change?
Okay. So this is my claim to fame. One, of course, it was definitely God that was always there with me. But it was the village of people like you that are watching. You know, I always give homage to the village of people. It was my aunt. It was the other lady that I met. It was the lady at the church. It was a lady that took me to church with her children. You know, it was always someone believing more in me than I believed in myself. They kept speaking power. They kept speaking truth. And seeds do grow, you guys. They grow. They grow. I'm telling you, seeds grow. Sometimes we plant seeds and we don't realize because we don't get to see what the outcome of that blossom of that tree will end up being. But trust me, if you plant a good seed in somebody's life, and that's what happened to me, the seed kept growing, and it took me to my last point where I was locked up. I was in jail. I told you I used to smuggle drugs into the country and all of that. And I ended up going to jail. And while I was there, I had a spiritual impartation, a visitation. I wasn't thinking about no church, no nothing, but I was, always born insightful, and I heard a voice said to me, either you live for me today or you're going to die. And so I didn't even know how to live my life different than what it was. So that's another thing. When people are transitioned out of either foster care or out of the prison system or out of jails, y'all, we got to stop with this dang with this being judgmental, because we got to teach people how to live. We got to teach people life skills, and so I did not know
so good
how
so good keep going
all of this stuff with no counseling, no therapy, no nothing. All I knew is that I didn't want to go back to jail and that I wanted to live my life.
Dr. Brown, we got one more question before we go there. See, I'm trying to get you off so I can save this video, because every time I try to save it every week, they say I taped it too long. So I'm going to leave in another 2 minutes so I can make sure we have this saved so we can put it on our website so we can make sure that the world hears it. So I'm going to take one more question. I mean, I've known you, but I didn't know all of this. And it's evident, I got to go here now, y'all, that God's hands is on you. He saved you for a reason.
Absolutely.
And he saved you for what you're doing.
Absolutely.
He had to have somebody who actually went through this stuff. Because as you say, children know fake people.
Yes.
They know them. And I'm telling you, there's a need for you. There's a need for you. So don't grow weary in well-doing.
Thank you.
And I'm telling the audience, if y'all want to see her have y'all ain't going to church because I know church is having church right now. But my point is, get on live stream with her. Get on her websites, and we got to make sure that she's taken care of. Because I'm not going there because I'm in ministry now, but we have to take care of the anointed ones. I'm not soliciting, nor am I proselytizing. I'm simply saying, she's saying it was by grace that got us thus far.
Yes.
She said it was by grace that got you thus far. So at this point, what time is it? I'm going to take one more.
If you want to, I'm open. If you want to go off and come back on, I'm willing to do that.
Oh, I could do that. But I want to wear my followers out because they've been on a whole hour. Question to the audience. Do y'all want to hear more about this like at another setting? If I bring her back next week, do y'all want to hear more of it? Someone said do it. So Dr. Brown, if you are available, somebody said we'd love it. I'm here. If you are available, I'm going to invite you back next week if you have time. And she travels everywhere, people, so I'm not sure where she's going to be at. But wherever you are, you're going to have your phone with you.
Yes, we quarantine right now, but as soon as I can get on the plane, I will
Dr. Brown,
be in Africa.
They want you back. And we're going to finish this up.
Thank you guys so much. I've had an amazing time here. And thank you for, can I tell them where to follow me at?
Oh, sure. Most certainly.
Okay. So you guys can follow me, of course, at Sharon J. Brown on Instagram. You can also go to my page, Dr. Sharon J. Brown. That's 2 R's in Sharon J. Brown on Facebook. I would love to have you there. And we're doing some phenomenal things on that platform also. Thank you guys so much. And thank you, Dr. Miles. Of course, it has been a pleasure being here with you. I pray that maybe we can plan to do something moving forward for the new year that's coming up for human trafficking awareness.
Real quick now, you got like some seconds. Give your contact information again. Like your website, everything very quickly.
My website is SharonJBrown.com. That's Sharon J. Brown with 2 R's.com. On Facebook, you can find me at Dr. Sharon J. Brown. That's Dr. Sharon J. Brown. And feel free to email us at Sharon J. Brown 2015 at gmail.com. I think that's pretty much it.
Okay, folks, we got to go. Don't forget to donate to us for our first responders appreciation. We'll see you next week. God bless all of you. You've been absolutely wonderful. Good night.
Good night. Bye-bye.